Is it cliche that our childhood shapes us? Hello everyone, welcome to Signpost for Living with Dr. Kirsten Hunter, and we've got gorgeous Kristen Coggan here. Hello, darling.
Hello.
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 I know I always sound this. I always say that I'm excited by a topic because I'm a bit of an excitable person. But
Yes.
I really like this topic.
You really?
I really do. So, people often say to me, I love it. They say, look, I'm really sorry to sound cliche, but, you know, this thing happened in my childhood. They say that. Or they say, does it sound cliche that I really think this comes from my childhood? Or I say to them, can we talk about issues in your childhood? And they look at me like I'm being cliche. And I know I'm overusing that word, but the point is that there's this big stigma, I think, that people think you turn up to psychology and you talk about your childhood.
And use it as an excuse or something.
No, I was going to say, and you do.
Yeah.
Like you do. And I just thought it'd be really lovely to just sort of join the dots a bit.
Yep.
And it's so relevant because we all are exactly where we are right now, and there's a certain component of our current situation where we have actively been shaped in our childhood.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and so I think it's good to kind of tap our hat to that, if is that a saying, and
Tip our hat.
Tip our hat. Thank you, darling.
Yeah.
And sort of break it down for a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So basically, how can we not be shaped by our childhood?
I think exactly that.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yes, absolutely.
And you are what you are because of how you were influenced.
Yep. This little babe comes along, and oh my gosh, massive topic. This little babe comes along, and how responsive are the parents? What is the parents' mental health like? What is the state of their relationship? What stresses are happening for the parents? You know, are they okay, or are they actually having all these stresses which mean that they're in a stress state, or they're distracted elsewhere? You know, even are you there and you've got a sibling who's got health issues, or did you have health issues? Were you conceived child number 10, or were you desperately conceived as IVF and they're cotton wooling you? You know, all of these variables happening around you, and you're shaped enormously.
Yep.
It's you can't put words around it, can you?
No, and it can be even, you know, what your neighbours are like if you live near them for the first 12 years of your life. They're shaping you too.
Oh my gosh.
If you know them well, and you know, there's so many influences. It can be anything.
Yeah. When I was 6 years old, I adopted the neighbour as my father.
And why not?
Yeah. No, I used to scale the 6-foot fence, and used to spend every day with him and his animals. He had lots of animals. And I adopted him because he took the time with me and loved me and cared, and he and his gorgeous wife couldn't have children. And my dad wasn't great. So, yeah, every day.
You're over there?
Every day. I was over there. It was awesome. And we're still in touch today.
Oh, isn't that nice?
I know. And, you know, if I had have had a wedding as such with my gorgeous John, he would have been involved, but we kind of eloped.
You did?
With, you know, took certain people with us, but yeah. So, yeah, no, you're right, even the neighbours. It's amazing, isn't it? And the mental health of the parents, like if you have a parent who's anxious and they go around, you know, with this apprehensive, sort of hypervigilant response, the world could hurt you, you start to learn the world could hurt me. If you've got parents who are, you know, even if they're hoarders, then you're ironically going to become probably a very tidy person. So you don't even necessarily copy what's around you.
That's right. It's how you react to it. It's not dictated what the reaction will be.
Yeah, are you shaped to follow or shaped to go the other way? You know, you might have a parent who's got alcohol and that's their lifestyle, and that's your lifestyle, and you become, you know, somewhat of an alcoholic, or you hate alcohol. Often goes the other way as well. So enormously shaped, hey?
Very much so. And I think for me, if you reflect on it, so I think about what shaped me, but I also think about what I'm doing and how it's shaping my kids.
Yep.
And you're guessing a lot at that. You don't know. I feel like you're investing in something, but you don't really know what the payout's going to be at the end of the day. No one can predict it. If that does, am I making sense when I say that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of pressure, actually.
And now that my kids are getting that little bit old, and they'll talk about things that happened that they remember, and you think, A, I have no recollection of that whatsoever.
Yeah.
Or B, really, that's how you saw that, or how you interpreted that day or that scenario, or it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? Because it kind of it's sort of looping back to you, and you're getting the feedback. Yeah, absolutely. And if we look at a micro level as well, there's this young child, and the child is relatively a blank canvas, and the child comes into the world, and they're quite omnipotent to begin. They think that the world revolves around them, and they should. Unless they've been incredibly neglected, and then they've not had that luxury. So, we're talking 2, 3, 4, and then when we hit around 4, 5, we start to realise there's other humans in the world, and they have different minds and different needs, and we have to start to become a bit mindful of them. And then we kind of hit 5, 6, 7, and we start to say, who am I? And unfortunately, we have this programming to say, maybe I'm not okay. So we go from I'm amazing to maybe I'm not okay. And at that point, we are literally being programmed. Our little wiring is taking place. And we're saying, who am I? How do people relate to me? What can I do? What can't I do? What's the world like? How do I get on in the world? So incredible level of programming happening. And that all that programming gets laid down, and we call it self-talk, self-schemas. And, how we then go on to have our self-confidence, our self-worth, how to negotiate peers, how to negotiate conflict, how to advocate for ourselves, and also, our aspirations. I mean, if you've got parents that say you can do whatever you want, but actually you've got to do the hard work, then the child's going to have this broad view. Whereas if the child grows up and thinks, my family do this, then they're going to feel quite restricted. Yes. It's just huge.
It is.
Absolutely huge. I mean, we've got our beautiful 5 boys, right? And I say to them, please, I have a lot of friends who are doctors, so please don't be offended. But you're about to be. I say to my boys, are you sure you want to do medicine?
Yeah.
Like, that's the conversation. Are you sure? And not because of the study required. I've got no problem with that. I did 11 years of uni. I've got no problem with that. But just the sheer, if you do become a specialist, the hours you work, it's very, very hard to be a parent and to be parent-focused if you work full-time as a doctor. In the stress levels and the health, impact on your health. And, do you want that lifestyle is what I'm saying, right?
Yes.
And, 3 big boys, the conversation has gone around that kind of topic, and I'm kind of happy that none of them are doing that yet. One's thinking. But whereas other families, if they even thought about being a doctor, they'd be like, oh, that's impossible. I could never do that.
It's funny, isn't it?
Whereas I'm like, please don't. It's, it's fascinating.
But you've got the broader picture of what it means to do that. And I think some people would think, oh, my child's going to do medicine. Haven't I been a great parent to get them to that point? Like, it's a payoff.
They want to go and say, oh, my child's doing this.
Yes.
Yeah, because they're having a bit of an ego wank.
Yes.
It is very interesting what that reference point is. I've had some kids who have been pulled from school because the parent says, schools, we don't need school. School's for those sort of toffee-nosed people, and there's a prejudice against people who pursue education. So incredible shaping, hey?
It is. And it's funny. So, disclosure, I've had a child that didn't finish school, and I desperately wanted him to, and I thought the world would fall in and the sky would fall apart if he didn't. And he didn't, and he'll be okay. But I reckon I've shaped a bit of self-confidence, or lack of self-confidence in him because I was the way I was, if that makes sense.
The irony is, if the world did end and the sky did fall down, your child would live longer than mine.
Yes. Yes.
He's much more capable in so many ways, isn't he?
Yes, he is. And I learnt too that it's actually about being happy and having choices.
Yeah, and really living your
and
own
being
life.
a good, decent human being. That's.
But are you saying that you kind of accidentally might have put onto him your kind of assumptions that he wasn't following that
Yeah,
path?
because it was the be all and end all. To me, it was that's what he had. That's what everybody has to do. But I think I probably shaped some negative stuff there as well, but I didn't realise that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
But what you were doing was wanting for him the best.
Yes.
And you were thinking that's what the best was.
Yes.
So it was inadvertently that pressure.
Yes,
might
I
have
wasn't.
been felt.
Yeah.
And you know, parenting's not about getting it right.
No.
It's about getting it right most of the time.
Yes.
And always having a good heart so that they know that you mean well and you've got good intention and that kind of thing.
I'm going to make him listen to this podcast now so that he knows that.
We love you.
You just, it's hard, isn't it? So, yeah, it's just, I guess what I'm getting at is your childhood shapes you and the childhood you give your children shapes them.
Yeah.
And it's something just to be, you don't have to be aware of it and get it right, but just something to be mindful of, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so when you're in the here and now and you're saying, hopefully you're always learning about yourself and wanting to understand, what am I doing right now? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What's my approach? You know, is this helping me or not? If it's helping me, do it more. If it's not helping me, let's look at that. To work out what's shaped you from the past. And we've all got, as I call them, hot potatoes. And to have, at some point, put in the work to sort those things out.
Yes.
Which is, you know, you can get the bulk of it done. There's always tweaking. Yeah.
And something that you inherently believe in because it was how you were brought up or something, you know, sometimes it's, you've got to bend or have some flexibility in that thinking. It's not all about the way you think it has to be. Am I making sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And we can be weird with it. I mean, sometimes we can have, like, for example, my father was a bank manager, right? So he's good with maths. And he was also a very creative person. It's a weird combination. And I'm a very creative person.
You are super creative.
And I'm also good at maths. I'm also good at English.
Actually...
Don't roll your eyes if you're thinking I'm bragging, because I'm not. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, what is it? It's probably easy to say what you're bad at because you're good at a lot of things and most things.
I'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
It's a long list. But what I was going to say is when I went through school, I didn't like that I was good at maths because I had issues with my dad.
Okay, so you were, yep.
So I even played it down and I didn't like that. And I had to struggle with being okay at maths. It's ridiculous, right? And then I went and became a psychologist, and 1/4 of psych when I went through was statistics. I'm a statistician that has to admit that I'm good at maths. So, you know, it's talk about having issues where it's like inside, outside, upside down. You know, you can have attributes and you don't really like them. You know.
And I guess what makes you, it's unique, isn't it, to everyone, like your fingerprint.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
absolutely. And I love meeting people, as you would imagine. When I meet people, I'm always kind of learning about them and figuring them out and joining the dots. And in session, that's one of the reasons I love my job, is that I have got a capacity to be able to feed back to people joining their dots. And, you know, most people are kind of halfway there. Some people have really quite excelled and they've not got a lot more learning to do. Whereas some people, they are just babies. And I might say something that's, you know, you don't need to be a psychologist to say, and it's a revelation. So I love people learning, because when you learn about how you've been shaped, who you are, how you think, what your programming is, and how you've been shaped, then you've got a choice whether you're going to continue with that path or whether you're going to say, I don't actually subscribe to that. That's not healthy. And then you've got choice, and you're in a strong position. So knowledge is power, cliche, again. Well,
that word that I can't spell. Yeah.
I won't get you to spell it. You know I'm going to keep texting you that word too.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting. It's really
it is.
interesting.
It's so interesting. And you could talk to someone. See, I'm not a psychologist, but if I were one, These are the sessions I'd love.
Yeah.
It's so interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, and when people come along and they say, I just want to talk about the here and now, I do not want to talk about my childhood.
Mm-hmm. That's red flag. Bing, bing. Something's gone
Bing.
down. We need to get there. We'll get there eventually.
I say to them, well, you know what? You just put my right arm behind my back here, and why don't you want to talk about your childhood? Let's not talk about childhood.
Yeah,
Let's talk about why you don't talk about childhood, and boom, we're there. But that's really interesting that often this is not a good thing, but what I usually find is that they've actually gone and seen somebody, they've actually tried, and it hasn't gone well, and it's been a lot of heartache without the reward, and so they don't want to go and put themselves out there again, and I think that's just really intelligent.
And I think too, if there is something there, sometimes it's so draining. It's so much energy to rehash it and tell someone the story again.
I agree with you, but it's also profoundly cathartic.
Yeah.
I always say, it's like, well, let's get the gravel out of the wound. It's not fun. It's not fun. But afterwards, there's this incredible relief. And to feel heard with someone who really cares and really wants to understand you.
Yeah.
And someone who, relative to your skills, is a bit of a surgeon. They know their stuff. If you go to a psychologist and they are not amazing, don't go, because your time is precious. Your disclosure to them is absolutely, is an honour to come into someone's world, and so you do need someone who's pretty damn special.
Yep.
To match that.
That you resonate well with.
Yep. I call people a clean skin when they haven't been to a psychologist before.
See, that's what I call cattle and bulls that aren't branded.
What?
How can you be going, what? That's what a clean skin is.
No, isn't that like a
bottle of wine that doesn't have a label too?
Yeah.
Yes, so it's not labelled. So
sorry, you're talking about cattle that hasn't been branded.
It's a clean skin.
Oh, we are bonding.
It's not just you that teaches, it's me. I've got there's knowledge there.
Darling, I love your brain. That's why I always ask you to come along and chew the fat with me. I love it. Well, there you go, everybody.
There you go.
Stop and reflect. That's what it's all about, hey?
That's it.
Now, you've got a hot tip, don't you, today?
A red hot tip.
There you go.
So bear with me, people. Signposts for Living is what you've been listening to with Dr. Kristen Hunter.
Do you know my name?
I do know your name. I do know your name. And her YouTube channel is Psych in Your Car. And if you could head over and subscribe on YouTube to Kirsten's channels, that would be very much appreciated.
So do we want to subscribe or do we want like?
Both.
Okay.
We want you to do both. You don't have to listen to it all.
What's good about that? I don't
know either. I just know it is good.
Does
and
good stuff.
It helps your content get out there more and help more people.
Okay, people, please do that. Yep.
So if you could, you don't have to listen to us again, but just do that over there on YouTube. That'd be great. At Twitter, Kirsten is Kirsten Hunter AU, and her webpage is KirstenHunterAuthor.com, and Facebook is Kirsten Hunter Author.
As is Instagram.
So just remember the Kirsten Hunter Author thing, you'll find her.
There you go. Thank you, darling. Appreciate it.
No worries.
See ya.
Bye.